Happy Sunday, everybody. Hope you are having a nice, relaxing, beautiful day today. Um, I'm coming to you today to talk about a subject that has recently come up for me. It's something I like to call blind spots. And I noticed it very, very practically recently from this recent move from Santa Maria Island to St. Pete. And as I'm transitioning my business from an ad agency doing primarily graphic design and marketing and business related stuff more to coaching individual business owners and executives and other people going through trauma, I've kind of let go some of that ad agency clients to seek my perfect client, and in doing so I've been doing some driving, some deliveries, and some Uber and stuff, and I've noticed that my new car has a blind spot. Now the interesting thing about this blind spot is it's really not a blind spot. I mean, it's on my rear passenger side, and the car is there. It's hard to see. I kind of have to really check there, but it's visible. But for some reason, my brain's not always registering it, and I think it's just like I'm tired and I'm driving a lot, and so for me, I really need to get into doing more coaching, because this is not something for me. It's just a matter of time before that blind spot gets me. But I've also noticed that in trauma response, when we respond to repeated trauma, that we develop blind spots over time. And those blind spots, I believe, this is my personal belief, those blind spots come from the fact that when we experience trauma, that is, or any event that's very painful, we like to get up in our heads and really rationalize and process that in our heads, rather than really feeling that painful moment, like really experiencing it and processing it through our bodies. And in doing so, this helps create blind spots, because our brain, the way our biological body works is all of our five senses, or six if you're going to talk about your more energetic, feeling, intuitive sense. It takes in information to process. Traditionally, we've always thought of processing like it comes in and it's processed through the brain and then we react. But as we learn more and study trauma response more and our biological responses more, and doing a more holistic approach, we're finding that our body, our intelligence, and our processing, our response to danger and joy and everything, isn't just coming from the brain. It's also being processed through the neural network connected. We have the neural network in our heart and in our gut as well. In fact, a majority of our serotonin is produced not in our brain, it's produced in our gut. The neural pathways that signal a response, that tell your body to respond to something, come up more from your gut to your brain to process than it does the other way around. So when people talk about having a gut reaction or trust your gut, it's truly, we have the same neurons that we have in our brain is in our digestive system, and they're also in our heart. So they are part of processing for us. They're part of the part of our intelligence. And when we disconnect from a painful experience, and over time start just processing out of a defensive posture. We start just processing in our brain, where we're rationalizing and trying to be logical, just logical all the time. We're really missing out on a lot of the cues that are coming into our body. We're missing out on a lot of our intelligence. And what that does is it creates blind spots. And what I mean by blind spots is, say you meet somebody that is setting off some red flags. You have this like kind of agitated thing in your gut, and you can have kind of maybe a heaviness feeling in your heart, but in your brain you're processing, well, they drive a nice car, they have a good job, they have all these friends and all these people love them, so they're obviously a good person. And you're ignoring your body's reaction to maybe some micro, some small things that they're doing that would be red flags if you weren't rationalizing what you were experiencing, if you weren't ignoring it and rationalizing away this other information that's coming in through other parts of your body. And in doing so, you're creating a blind spot. Your brain is creating what the story other people are feeding you instead of the story that you're experiencing. So when you disconnect from feeling through your heart and through your gut, and you kind of get all up in your brain and feel like your brain is like this thing out here floating around, and it's really disconnected from your body, you create blind spots, and it makes you more vulnerable for victims of trauma. It makes them more vulnerable for repeating a similar trauma or another trauma, because you're ignoring part of your biological system, and you're cutting it off from getting in all the information and processing all the information properly. So in healing from trauma and recovering, one of the things that one of your goals will be to start to reintegrate your body with your mind. And it's something that a lot of times people don't realize they're doing it. They just realize that they're ruminating a lot, and they're in their head a lot, and they're really focused on that, and they're getting signals from their body, like they are feeling maybe more pain in their back, they're holding more tension in their shoulders, they're not breathing as deep, you might have digestion issues, you might have autoimmune issues, a lot of health issues will start to come up. And somebody that has either been has generational trauma, or where or family trauma, where they're trained by their families to move past it, to keep their head down and just keep going and ignore the pain and just keep moving. They really, what will happen is you really create this disconnect. So in healing, what you want to do is integrate. And I found that integrating could be, if you're just trying to do it with your mind, like, oh, my intention is to integrate and I'm going to do these, mind practices until, just knuckle down and integrate. It doesn't always work. You really have to feel it. And there can be some resistance, especially if this is a behavior that you were taught as a child in your family, that you just ignore the signals from your body and you just, logic is everything. It's hard to really, to start feeling those feelies, those touchy-feelies and the warm fuzzies, or the icky negative emotions that we're told are bad. They're not really bad. They're just, they're sending us a signal that we need to pay attention to something and process it. But to really start to gently get back into feeling your body, I personally have found that two big exercises have been important for that. Um, the first one that I did to really start reintegrating back into my body was to get therapeutic massage. That really helped calm my nervous system down enough in a very gentle way that I could really concentrate on the different parts of my body and where I was feeling things. And I noticed after a few sessions that I was able to start to feel my emotions again. And an interesting thing, I had gained a lot of weight. And, I was coming out of a very stressful time, and was eating right. I was exercising, but I just couldn't drop the weight. After having a few sessions of massage, the tightness, like the high belly, I call it a stress baby, where you get that high tight belly, it just kind of melted away. And then the weight just started to melt off. So that was like really my nervous system letting go of the stress, reintegrating to my body, so I was able to release and digest properly and really start to have my body stop trying to send me signals like pay attention to this, because I'm actually integrating. The other thing that I found is very, very useful for reintegrating my mind, body, and spirit has been yoga, specifically hot yoga, because when you're kind of disconnecting from your body and you're in your brain all the time, it's hard to quiet that brain and just like recenter. Because if you're like all of us, me included, you've got so much on your mind and so much you want to accomplish that they still pop in, and it's hard to get into that practice of just calming the mind and finding center. Hot yoga for me, like even if you're not doing intense moves, you're just in that heat and you're gently doing whatever your body allows. You're really just trying to survive that position and get through it, and like maybe push yourself, like I am going to get through this whole class without leaving the room. I'll drink my water, I'll do child pose or whatever I need to do, but I'm just going to breathe through it and focus on my breath and calming myself so I can get through this as much as I can in this hot session. So your brain is literally just focused on that, and all the other things, all the other worries and troubles and everything just melt away. You're not thinking about that. You're just thinking like, okay, can I just stay maybe 2 more minutes before I give myself permission to leave this room and cool off. And I have made it through every 1 hour session of hot yoga without leaving the room. But sometimes I do have to just get into child pose and drink lots of water, and then, gently do whatever I can. But for me, that really has helped me get into my body and integrate and start feeling those signals. And I can really, you feel the energy change when, your mind is telling you everything's fine, but your body is your gut is might do a little somersault, might do a little pitch. And I know when it does that to pay attention, there's something going on. Or my heart might feel a little heavy. I might feel a little tug at that. Then when you're connected with your body and you're connected with your feelings, you feel those subtle changes. And it's not that you're having a rash judgment, it's just to pay attention, to look a little deeper. And maybe ask yourself if there's any red flags, if there's anything that you're missing. And it could be, a big life changer. And, if you're like me and you were holding on to all this negative feelings and just holding on to it, when you start really integrating, I found that I just have better health. I have better posture. I have better weight, the weight kind of melts off. That's when I know that I need to like do some really deep work and start reintegrating, is my body will just hold onto the weight, and I will start to get like severe pain in my back, and my posture gets bad because my back hurts. And so that's when I know I need to take a breath, reintegrate, slow down, ask myself, what am I missing? What am I missing out on it by going so fast? If I go a little bit slower, what might I sense? What might I see? What might I experience? And it's led for, you know, even in the midst of chaos and stressful times, I'm able to still find center and still feel at peace and still have happiness. So that is how I have worked on eliminating some blind spots, or at least knowing that they're there, and knowing, like getting into a practice of really being aware of them and checking that blind spot for greater safety and a greater sense of calmness and peace. So I hope this has helped. And if you have any more questions about how to heal from trauma, or even, you know, whether it's a big trauma or just the daily little traumas of stress building up over time, I'm here for you to talk to you. Please feel free to DM me or give me a call. I love talking about this. Or you can just comment below on, you know, topics you might want me to cover on how to overcome it, or what you might be experiencing, or even a success story that you have and you want to share. I would love to hear it. So again, thank you for spending time with me, and have a beautiful, relaxing, recharging Sunday. Thank you. See you later.